Trump has launched the United States into another potentially endless war in the Middle East. Bombing another country is an act of war. The Constitution is clear. If there is no immediate threat to Americans, to our service members, or to the homeland, the president has no legal authority to order our troops to strike another country. None. War with Iran will not make us safer. We all agree that Iran should not have and cannot have a nuclear weapon to threaten the entire world. Bombing these nuclear facilities will set back Iran's nuclear program a few months or maybe a few years. But it is not possible to bomb away Iran's technology, Iran's know-how, and Iran's determination to build a nuclear bomb. The only potentially successful strategy for preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon is diplomacy, something that Donald Trump had been pursuing right up until Benjamin Netanyahu began bombing Iran. Donald Trump has made no plans for what comes next. His reckless decision, backed by many Republicans in Congress, makes it more likely this crisis escalates into a deadly cycle of violence. What now? Will Iran retaliate? Will Trump put U.S. troops on the ground? How many Americans' lives will Donald Trump risk? We cannot allow Donald Trump and pro-war Republicans to drag us into a new war in Iran with the same old failed arguments that we've heard before about war in the Middle East. Weapons of mass destruction, regime change, claims that targeted military action from the U.S. will somehow magically solve every problem in a foreign country. America did not vote for another endless war in the Middle East. We are heading back to Washington today, where Democrats have introduced a war powers resolution to stop Donald Trump from turning these Iran bombings into another endless war in the Middle East. We must put a stop to this madness now. Now, for the reason we are all gathered here today, the Dobbs anniversary, I want to say a very special thank you to the women who are here today, to Congresswoman Presley, to Whip Clark for pulling us all together, to Congresswoman Trahan, and to Dominique and all of your team at Planned Parenthood. You are
under somewhat similar circumstances without the authorization of Congress.
So right now, it's clear that the United States is not under direct threat from Iran. Our own national security advisor has said that Iran is not developing a nuclear weapon. There was no reason to move forward. Our troops are not at risk. Our homeland is not at risk. The American people are not at risk. Donald Trump has taken this action as he trails along behind Benjamin Netanyahu. And let me just put this in some context here. Negotiations were moving forward, and I give credit to the Trump administration. They were helping bring the parties together, negotiating to keep Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. Benjamin Netanyahu has never wanted to rely on negotiations. He has wanted to engage in military actions. He saw his opportunity. He shoved the president aside and the president's negotiation and moved forward, and then turned around and managed to pull Donald Trump in, who in turn seems to be working hard to pull the entire United States into war in Iran. The Constitution is clear. Only Congress can declare war. We all understand there are exceptions when our troops are at risk, when our homeland is at risk, when Americans are at risk, but none of those apply in this case. What Donald Trump has done is unconstitutional, and we're going to have a vote this week in the United States Senate on the War Powers Act, and this is our opportunity. It only takes a simple majority to reel back in Donald Trump and make clear to the world that the United States is not going to war against Iran.
Senator, Governor Healy was briefed by
I'm sorry?
Governor Healy was briefed by DHS about potential potential threats here in Massachusetts. What's your level of concern about retaliation from Iran showing up here in the States?
Well, you're reminding us that there are real consequences to what Donald Trump has done, and those consequences are not confined to the Middle East. We are now all at much greater risk because of the reckless actions of Donald Trump. We may experience consequences here in the United States, and Homeland Security is obviously on much higher alert now. But we also may be in the first part of just a cycle of they respond, then we respond, they respond, and then we respond. And before we know it, once more, we're in another endless war in the Middle East. The time to put a stop to it is right now. And the time for the United States Senate to speak up is before Iran acts and before Donald Trump acts again.
Thank you.
We good? I promised. Yeah.
To what extent is War resolution sort of closing the barn door? I mean, isn't the issue here the angle announcement from post 9/11? Because the administration claimed probably that it acted on it.
If
Something Congress never probably did.
if we get a majority, and we will have all of the Democrats, if we can pick up the Republicans we need to get a majority, that now makes it clear to Donald Trump that he is not permitted to do this, and that has an effect on all of the potential actions he takes in the future. You're right. None of us has a time machine. We can't go back on what he's done, but we have to respond to it. Because to fail to respond is to say, in effect, that it has been ratified by Congress. Now is the time to say no to Donald Trump. The Democrats are ready to do that. We need some Republicans to join us.
Senator, there have been examples where Democratic presidents have acted similarly. There's one example from 2011 when President Obama sent a coalition of South American forces along with NATO forces into Libya, into the civil war there to protect civilians. Do you see a distinction?
So, yes, there was the question about civilian harm at the time. Donald Trump didn't do any of this. He didn't stand up and say, look, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to protect civilians on the ground. Here's the ongoing dispute, and here's how we think we can help. He just followed Benjamin Netanyahu and said, we're going to blow up a part of Iran. And of course, he did that when his own security advisor, national security advisor, is saying the threat does not exist. And he then reports, once he's done it, we're all done. It's all happened. I've gotten rid of all of the nuclear threat, all of the nuclear material, only to turn around and the next day, his own vice president and the rest of his administration, his own chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff are all walking that back, saying that what Donald Trump said at the time he announced the bombing was just factually inaccurate. And that's the problem we've got here. So what happens next? Does Donald Trump go back to bomb again, wherever they think the nuclear materials may have been moved? Does he go back to hit a target again?